Grainmaker. Welcome, everyone, to the Grainmaker Wrestling Podcast, a Prairie Proud wrestling podcast covering everything from Winnipeg to worldwide. My name is Blair Pacheco. I hope you're doing well, having a great day, evening, weekend, whenever it is you're sitting down and listening to this. Now, towards the end of 2025, I'm sitting down, I'm watching some independent wrestling on YouTube. I queued up the West Coast Pro Wonder Slam show, and I'm watching, and I'm already a fan of one of the wrestlers on there, Miko Alana, and then I see her opponent, and I love the match they had. I thought they were fantastic, and I had to reach out to them. I had to get them on the podcast. So joining me today on the Grainmaker Wrestling Podcast, it's Mia Sweets. Mia, how's it going?
Hi, it's going really great. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
You guys had a very fun match. That was my first introduction to you. But I loved the chemistry you guys had in the ring. I thought you guys really worked really well together. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I felt that was our best match that we've had. We've wrestled a couple of times before then. I think I actually wrestled her the weekend before that. Okay. So we were a little bit familiar with each other, which is why I think we brought like the better out of each other, because we were already familiar. But yeah, it was overall like a really great match. Got to do some things that I wasn't used to doing, but still pulled it off. Also took some moves that I'm not used to taking, but you know, we're here, we're live, we're fine. But yeah, I really enjoyed wrestling Miko. It was a good time. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have to ask, where did the love for professional wrestling, where did your interest first start? What got you hooked onto wrestling?
Yeah, it originally started with the PlayStation 1. I don't remember which game. Everybody's like, it was probably SmackDown. I'm like, I don't know, but it was probably around 03, 04.
Okay.
And I played that. I really liked Lita, like naturally gravitated towards her because I think she was one of the only few females in the game. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know anything of wrestling at the time. My dad had watched it through like the mid 80s to early 90s and fell off once like Hogan left and Macho left. And he didn't really watch WCW like that. So he's kind of like, all my guys are on the other brand. So he had fallen off. But we got this game, which I'm guessing was his. And we played it for the time being. And then every now and then he would flip through channels. And he'd be like, oh, wrestling. I used to watch wrestling. And I would notice because of the scratch logo W. And I'd be like, oh, that is wrestling. And according to my parents, I was really invested. And I don't remember, but I guess I was so invested that I would get upset at the TV. And they would have to tell me, like, it's fake. It's fine. They're not actually, like, hurting each other and whatnot. But yeah, it was one of those things where my mom didn't really want the violence to influence us, which we see how that turned out. But yeah, it wasn't until 09 when my dad got a PlayStation 3 with one of his friends, and they got the Legends of WrestleMania game, which has all the characters in which he grew up watching. So we were taught like Macho Man, Hogan, Warrior, Piper, The Rock, all of them before knowing Cena or Orton. But we got heavily invested in the game, and we're like, we want to start watching. Can we start watching? And friends of the family were like, oh, we actually watch. And we're like, how have we never known this? And they're like, yeah, it comes on Mondays and Fridays. So turned on the TV. Some of the first people I remember was Cena and Orton. And this was 09 of August. So this was towards the peak of their rivalry. Yeah. But yeah, it was like video games that got me into wrestling in a nutshell.
it always interests me like what people's starting point is because it's always different,
Yeah.
like for some
Yeah.
people it's like yourself, it's I find a lot of people it's video games more often than not.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
more and more. And it's a great entry point into a different sort of like creative medium. Professional wrestling, it's an art form, so having video games be the entry point to that, it's like
Yeah.
that's really kind of cool.
It is. It is. Plus, it kind of highlights the characters of all the wrestlers.
Mhm.
So in that way, you can get invested in the storyline before the actual action.
Yeah.
Because in video games, you're just punching, you're just doing moves. But then when you watch it and you see how it's translated in real time, it's like even better.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's like a great starting point to kind of spark that interest, in my opinion.
So after you guys kind of refine this love for professional
Yeah.
wrestling, were you guys able to go check out shows at all when they'd come through town?
Yeah, so about a year later, my dad took me to my first wrestling event. It was a WWE Super Show. So it was when they film everything because Mania would be that Sunday. So we
Mhm.
watched NXT when it was like Daniel Bryan NXT, like
Yeah.
it was a competition show. Um, NXT, Raw, Superstars, and SmackDown all in one night. It was like 5+ hours of wrestling, and I was exhausted afterwards, but I loved it. I loved it, and I was so excited. I was just like completely captured in the whole audience, scenery, everything about it. I remember seeing the wrestling ring for the very first time and just like stopping in my steps, like, oh my gosh, I can't
Mhm.
believe I'm here. So yeah, we ended up going, and we go every year, or we try to go every time, but sometimes like they come to California a lot,
Yeah.
Northern California, so sometimes we will skip a date, but we've been going pretty much every year since then.
That's awesome. It's nice that you guys have that you can share and go see together.
Yes, 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 yes.
So you're a fan growing up, you guys are going to shows. At what point are you thinking like wrestling is something I want to pursue, that I want to get into this?
Right. Yeah. So naturally, like, I think a lot of kids look at wrestling or just anything that has their interest and they're like, I want to do that when I grow up.
Mhm.
And as a kid, I wanted to be a lot of things when I grew up. But wrestling was like really deep down in there where I was like, I want to do that. I want to try that. But I felt like growing up, I was really torn, and I'm like, I love doing art, and I know I can always do that. I really want to get into music and music production, but how do I like split the two? Um, by the time of WrestleMania 31, which was the first ever WrestleMania I went to, they were in Northern California. They say San Francisco. It was Santa Clara, but nonetheless, yeah, so many people were like, I can't wait to see the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. That's like cities and miles away. But that was like the tipping point where I was like, no, I have to take this seriously and I have to look into how I can become a wrestler. And I was
Mhm.
almost 15 at the time. So I was like, okay, maybe next year when I'm 16, I can find a school, which I'm sure we'll get into how I got into training.
For
But
sure.
yeah, it was WrestleMania 31 that really made me go like, no, I want to take this seriously. I want to look into it and figure out how I can make a career out of this.
Okay, now this is gonna like prove that I have like terrible geography, and like I was in San Francisco a few years ago, but is like
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco is on like the little island part. Is Santa Clara on that island part too?
No, so it's Santa Clara is basically San Jose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like San Francisco kind of goes off towards the very end of California, and they do have a couple of islands beside
Mhm.
it. But Santa Clara is like, if this is San Francisco, you would have to go like down this way to get to Santa Clara. So
Okay.
it's like, yeah, maybe within miles reach, but in California, it's such a big state that it's like it's not the same thing. Like,
No,
you know
and
what I mean?
me looking at a map, I explained this on a different podcast. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking like, oh, everything is so close together, and then like you're there, and
Right.
it's like a half-hour drive everywhere, and I'm like, oh, okay, no
Right.
problems.
Yeah, especially with the traffic.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, so WrestleMania 31, you're like, okay, I'm going to become a wrestler,
Yeah.
but you're still a few years away from, because I think most places, you have to be 18 to go to start
Right.
training. Was that the same case for you?
A little bit. So I had applied to a place in San Francisco, Pacifica. They're only 2 cities away. They're actually close. Like if you said it was, if you said it was San Francisco, people would be like, okay, you get a pass.
Okay.
But yeah, I was I wanted to apply there, but it was really far, and I was a teenager. I was 16 at the time. I was like, hey, do you guys take teenagers? And at the time, he was Cowboy Charlie. He's now Starboy Charlie. But they were like, yeah, we have Charlie. He's 13. I was like, what? This whole time I could be training. But it was just too far of a commute for me at the time. So when I was gonna graduate in 2017, I graduated a year early. I was looking into schools that summer in the Bay Area. And I found a spot in Pacheco, which is like the Concord Martinez area. And I applied because they were having an open trial. And I was like, do you take teenagers? I'm 17 years old. And they said, yes, just you can't debut until you're 18. And I was like, that's fine. So yeah, I did find a school that took teenagers. In fact, they were like, we actually had another teenager come in, get trained and debuted at 18 and whatnot. So we're already kind of familiar with that age range, which I was like, great. So yeah, I did end up finding a place, and I got to kind of kickstart my career a little bit early.
So, I mean, going into wrestling, did you do much like sports growing up? You were pretty athletic?
Yeah. I've been any sport that I can be involved in, I did. Besides like basketball, because I am a shawty and I can't hoop. But yeah, I got into soccer. That was the first sport I played as a kid. I was 6 and 7 years old when I started soccer. I did like recreational baseball as a teenager. I did taekwondo, kickboxing, ran 5Ks. Just anything athletic that I could do, I did. So I already had that kind of structure and discipline when it came to like stamina and being athletic. Yeah. So that definitely helped getting into wrestling.
Oh, for sure. Because I mean, cardio is such a big, it's an important thing. And obviously cardio in wrestling is different than going for a run or anything like that. But it's something, it definitely helps out as soon as you're, stepping in the ring. So you find the school and you're going to start training there. What's going through your mind, the first couple days you're showing up there?
Yeah. So I feel like it's a little bit different than other people because they had a tryout. So in my mind, I just want to do good enough to get this scholarship because it was a 6-month scholarship of free training.
Okay.
So that was going through my head. I knew that I wanted to train there, but I was like, man, if I don't get this scholarship, it might still be a few months because I might not be able to have the funds yet to afford this full time. So that was going through my head, and also just what is the impact going to feel like? I was preparing for the worst and then hoping for the best to try to mentally get me into the right mindset.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So going in, I had asked who became my trainer, Anton Voorhees. I was like, what is it like hitting the mat? And he's like, it's not as soft as a mattress. He's like, there's a little bit of cushion, but it is stiff and you're going to feel the impact. So within like getting in the ring and rolling, I could feel my muscles starting to tense up on my back. And people always said it's like if you're in a car accident, but I've never been in a car accident. So I was like, I don't know what that means. So doing the bumps, I could feel like each muscle like scrunching up and tightening up. So I was like, okay, I guess this is what they mean. But yeah, overall, it was just a matter of like, I just want to show my heart for this and that I'm willing to do this. And I hope that I can do this well enough. That way they can pick me. And they did. After 2-day tryout, I won. And that just launched me off into my career.
What was the name of the school that you had gotten started at?
Yeah, I trained at East Bay Pro Wrestling.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you get the scholarship, and how different was, training after getting the scholarship from that the couple-day tryout there?
Yeah. So I came in because I was late September. So I started my first week in October, and it was a little nerve-wracking, if I'm being honest, just because I don't know. It wasn't that I was scared to wrestle, but for whatever reason, I was having anxiety kind of pursuing it all of a sudden. One of those things where like you almost can't control like intrusive thoughts in a way, which had me just concerned. But I was like, I'm chasing my dream. We're going forward with this. I can't be listening to these thoughts. So going in, like I said, I already had met some of the people there because of the tryout. And previously, before the tryout, when they saw my application, they're like, hey, if you want to come in for a day or two to watch training, you can do that. So I'm already familiar with everybody, and I'm going in and I'm like, okay, like, again, I just want to learn. I just want to do good and just feel that I'm pursuing and progressing in this thing that I want to do for a very long time. Yeah, if that answers your question.
Yeah, of course. So how long was that initial training for you? Like, how long did you go until you had your first match?
So in wrestling, we have practice matches. So before we debut. So for that, it was within 2 months, which is like looking back, I'm like, that was pretty quick. I've seen some students that don't have practice matches for like 6 months or even more. But I was in there with Anton's tag partner, Ian Hansman at the time. So veteran, super comfortable working with him, helped lead me through this practice match. And then my actual debut was about a year and a half into training.
Okay.
So yeah, so it came up to almost a year when they're like, hey, we want to debut you at this show, which was their anniversary show. And they're like, it's our biggest show of the year. We have a few other students that are also going to be debuting. So we think you're ready, but let's just sharpen you up. That way, you're fully set for that day, for the anniversary show. So it took about a year and a half, give or take.
But even having the practice match after 2 months, I think that speaks volumes to what you were putting into your training, because if others aren't getting that opportunity after a couple months, it really shows your dedication, your hard work to put you into that position.
Right. Yeah. And that was one thing that I appreciated about my trainers was recognizing when to push somebody and when to step back and say, hey, you need a little bit more work. You need a little bit more time. So I was just appreciative that they were listening to me, because they wanted to put me on a student show, which is like some schools, they sell tickets, but in this case, it's like family friendly only.
Yeah.
It's almost like a dress rehearsal, just for that way we can get comfortable in front of an audience. And there was times where they were like, hey, we want to put you on a student show. And I was like, I don't think I'm ready for that. And they were respectful enough to be like, okay, if you don't feel ready, we're not going to push you into that. Let's get you to where you do feel comfortable to do that. So the combination of them being understanding and respectful, along with me just trying to put in as much work as I could. At the time, we were only doing 3 days a week of training, but within those 3 days, I was doing all that I could to, live out this dream of mine. Yeah.
So, you complete your training, you're ready for your first official match. It's on the anniversary show. How are you feeling going into that match, and who was your first match with?
Yeah, I was actually really confident. I've been told and seen a lot of people nervous, which is a totally natural feeling to feel. I mean, you're going out there in front of a live audience. Everything that you worked for is, going to be displayed right then and there. But I was super confident, super comfortable. Going in, we had a little bit of a storyline of me kind of like managing or being like the little lackey on the side. So I was getting comfortable kind of being just around the ring and an audience. But my first opponents was Kimberly Diamond, is a triple threat. Kimberly Diamond, who was the ladies champ, and then Trish Adora, crazy enough.
Wow.
But yeah, so I had worked, I also was reffing at a different promotion that Anton was helping put on. And he wanted me to eventually wrestle for his show, but he's like, I'm going to let you debut at the school first. And then on this show, I'd like you to wrestle. So I was reffing a show called Glam, and Trish was constantly booked there. So the night before, she was booked at that show, and then the next day she had a match against me. So we were also already familiar with each other. I had repped her matches and she already knew me. But it's just crazy to see how far she's gone, and I'm like super proud of her and happy of all the things coming her way in wrestling. It's really cool.
Seeing that and knowing that you were there to like basically see her like ascension into wrestling,
Yeah.
that has to like give a lot of hope, and like knowing that things like this is possible, like growing up in a smaller California city, like you are able to go and do something like this.
Yeah, 100%. Another person too was Thunder Rosa. She was the champ at the school promotion that I was coming up in, and at the time she was gaining a name for herself, but she wasn't up there yet.
Mhm.
Um, and like I went to one of the shows before training or applying for the tryout, because they're like, hey, come to a show, let us get to know you, send like your application and whatnot, and then we'll go forward from there. And I got to see her wrestle. I was like, she's so cool, I really like Thunder. And then eventually, like, I don't know, a few months later, she had dropped the title because she was moving out to Texas, and then that's when everything blossomed for her. She had
Mhm.
opened up her own promotion, started getting booked on really big shows, and then getting contracts. So she's another person that I have looked up to just be like, wow, like you did it.
Mhm.
And it was cool that I got to know you before you made it in a way too.
So you see what Trish and Thunder have been able to do. Who have been some of your inspirations when it comes to professional wrestling?
Yeah, there's a lot. Um, I always say AJ Lee
Mhm.
because she is also short, like myself. And growing up, I was told constantly, like, I don't think you could be a wrestler. You're short. I just
Mhm.
like, oh, thanks. Like it was like a regular thing growing up. And I would always look to AJ and be like, man, she's the Divas champ. She's won these many Slammies, this and that. And plus, she wasn't the normal like cookie cutter
Yep.
women's wrestler. She's a nerd and a tomboy, and I grew up being the same way. So I look to her for a lot of inspiration as well, of being like, it doesn't matter your height or what you're into. Like, there are other people that appreciate that and can look at that and apply it to themselves, like myself. So AJ Lee was definitely a big inspiration, and you can imagine I'm very happy that she's back.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, because you've mentioned you're on the shorter side. So like
Mm-hmm.
when you see that, like, okay, AJ Lee was someone who you resonated with, and that
Yes.
been a big inspiration to you. Does it ever kind of sit in your mind that you could be an inspiration for other young girls out there watching?
Yeah, I mean that's the ultimate goal. It's kind of hard for me to wrap my mind around just the idea that I could or have made an impact like that on other girls' lives. But like that's the goal. You know, we can do cool moves and be like, wow, I got to go to this city and do this thing. But like ultimately my goal in wrestling is to give back to wrestling what it gave to me. So if that's hope and inspiration or an escape or an outlet, like that's what I want to give to other people. So, you know, if I do that for somebody, like it means so much to me, because to me I'm like, that's all that I could really ask for from wrestling, is to impact another person's life the way it impacted mine. So it does go through my head, but it's kind of crazy to think about.
Now I have to ask, because when I was doing some research, you know, I Googled your name and up came a still from a WWE event, and there you were. And I have to ask how that came to be. What was that experience like for you?
I simply got a call from Lisa Lace the day of saying, hey, are you going to be here? And I'm like, Monday Night Raw's tonight. Is she like attending Monday Night Raw? Like, I'm going to SmackDown the next day in Sacramento. Like, you know, and Monday Night Raw was in San Jose. And I was just thinking like, geez, does she want me to come out? Like I could try to go to the show with her is what I was thinking. Because I'm chilling. I did like my devotional. I'm a Christian, so I'm like praying, like, oh God, I don't know what I'm gonna do today, but I'll probably watch Monday Night Raw, and that will be cool. And yeah, I'll just have a nice day. I had the day off. I wasn't working. And then I was just thinking, like, yeah, I'm gonna go to SmackDown tomorrow, so I should probably prepare for that.
Yeah.
And then I get a call or a text, and then eventually a call, just being like, hey, they need an extra woman. I don't have a tag partner. Can you please come out and be on Raw with me?
Wow.
I was like, oh, okay. So I called up my mom being like, can you drive me down to San Jose? I'm going to be on Monday Night Raw. And it was just silent for like a good 20 seconds, but obviously it felt so much longer. She's like, I can't shut my mouth. Like she was in disbelief. Rushed down there. I think we got there 40 minutes before doors opened.
Okay.
So it's like maybe 3 p.m. here, because I know other parts of the country it starts at like 8 p.m., but for us it starts at 5. But doors open at 3:30, and then there's a pre-show by like 4:30 or 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, got there, got in, met up with Lisa Lace, trying to figure out what I'm doing, meet the Iconics, super nice. And then just go into rehearsals of what we're doing that day. And there's plenty of stories I can tell from that. So many interactions. But yeah, that's how it came to be. Crazy.
I mean, that must have been an incredible feeling, because this is something, you know, you and your dad are watching growing up. And then next thing you know, like, you know, 10 years later or so, you're showing up on a Monday Night Raw, an episode of that. Like,
yeah,
that's nuts.
Yeah, it was nuts. And like my mom, I was really thankful because my mom bought a ticket while she was there, so she got to see me.
Oh, nice.
My dad had work, so he unfortunately didn't get to see me. But he did watch on his phone. I'm trying to remember what streaming platform, but he got to watch on his phone, which was really cool. But yeah, it was strange. It was just an outer body experience. My mind still can't comprehend it whatsoever. It's just like, oh, that person looked like me on TV. Like there's nowhere in my brain do I like commute together to be like, oh, I was on Monday Night Raw. Like I don't know. It's hard to understand.
I wanted to ask about your persona when it comes to wrestling, you know, the very 50s inspired, you know, gimmick that you have. How did you, decide upon that?
Yeah, there was many versions of my persona and character that I had thought of. And the first route was similar to like Vanilla P. Von Sweets from Wreck-It Ralph. Kind of spunky, but a little devious. And I really leaned into that, especially because I just loved her growing up. So I leaned into kind of like the youthful, happy go lucky to be here situation character. But I always kind of thought like, oh, what if I did like kind of like a 50s or 60s inspired? Because I really liked the aesthetic, and I love like the movie Grease, Back to the Future. They spend time in the 50s, and I just love the whole teenage era coming up with that, and just everything revolving that. Not that like I grew up like collecting vintage things or anything like that, but I don't know. I kind of just always loved the simplicity of the 50s and early 60s. And coming back to wrestling, I was like, all right, like I'm not a teenager anymore. I've grown, I've matured, and I would like to present that a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think this is the time to switch up the aesthetic. I don't want it to be the same thing. I know people would be happy to see me, but there needs to be a little bit of a switch. So from head to toe, switched the way I looked, kept the candy theme with it, but it was more of a, here's a more confident and mature Mia Sweets. So that's how it came to be.
Hey, you're talking to someone who like my dad, like would always be playing music from the 50s and 60s. So that was stuff like I grew up on. So like to me, I love that era of music. It's stuff that I still like enjoy. I'm sounding so old right now.
No, there's so many good bops from that era. Like that's another thing that I really loved and appreciated. Like tapping into this character is going through all this different music and finding what I like, and leaning towards that. Like I actually I'll either put on a song and it makes a playlist, or I'll put on a playlist while I'm doing my makeup, which is just 50s and 60s bops. And now that I think about it too, in California, we have a couple of restaurants called Mel's Diners, and it's focused on that era.
Oh, nice.
And I grew up going to that restaurant all the time. So there's definitely an influence of that transitioned into adulthood. So hearing those songs takes me back to being in those diners with the jukebox and whatnot, and all the vinyls up on the walls. So yeah. Bops are great.
Hell yeah. Like, and even with, the character you have, like, I'm not gonna lie, like there's so much potential for merch that you could have. Like the world is your oyster at this point. Like that's a great problem to have.
Right. Yeah. I'm working on bandanas at the moment that has this portion, the Mia Sweets portion, and then it'll be up there. So I'm in the process of making that by hand, trying to work out the kinks to it. But yeah, I have so many ideas. I sell lollipops with this design on it. I'm going to start selling the headbands or bandanas. And yeah, I love the merch game and having fun with that. I love it.
I want to ask, I know we're, into March already at this point, but how are you feeling with your 2025 as a whole? Were you happy with what you were able to accomplish? Is there things you may have wanted to do differently? Like how do you feel heading into 2026 with the past year?
Yeah. I feel really great with what I could accomplish in 2025. Coming back to wrestling, I re-debuted in September, so I didn't have much of the year left, but the amount of things I got to do within that time really means a lot to me. I got to wrestle a lot of first, like Titus Alexander, who the first time I had met him was backstage at Monday Night Raw, and we were both just 18-year-old kids per se, just like trying to get our faces and our names out there. I got to face Jack Cartwheel, which is another person that we came up around the same time in the business, but different schools as well. And I got to work him. And there's a bunch of other names. Beatrice Domino, she was crazy enough. She was the first ever women's indie match I've ever watched. So it was her versus Shotzi Blackheart, because they're both from the area that I'm from. So getting to wrestle her in a match meant so much to me. So honestly, like 2025 gave me so much that I can't really dwell on the what ifs. It's more like, wow, this was given to me that I got to do this. And 2026 has been great to me as well. So I'm just excited.
I love that outlook, like it's not about the what ifs, it's about the good things that you were able to accomplish in the
Right.
year. Like that's solid. And you mentioned Beatrice Domino, and I have to ask, a candy cane death match.
Mm-hmm.
How does this come to be? It's the first time I've ever seen one like this, but it looked like a hell of a lot of fun. So how was that match for you?
Yeah, where do I start with that? How does it come to be? So for years, I've wanted a hardcore candy match, and I would always come up with these different concepts of like, oh, what if, and I still want to do this, like, what if we have like gumballs and we rolled them and that like trips your opponent? Or what if we use this candy in this way? And December, was coming up. It was one of those things like, hey, now more than ever would be a great time to buy candy. So we had a whole storyline building up into it of her sending the stupid Melanin Mafia to attack me or distract me. Her doing things to also attack me during my matches, to me finally calling out for a candy cane death match. In which I got to dress as Willy Wonka.
Yes.
Because I love that movie so much. Which was also awesome and just perfect timing because I've always wanted to do gear inspired by him. So I was like, now is the time to do it. But yeah, it was so much fun trying to come up with ideas for that match and how to be creative. And then being in the match, there's a lot of times when you're in there where it's very tunnel vision and just like, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And this, I could really feel the audience and the moments that were created in the match, which was awesome. It's also the longest match that I've had, which also checked off another accomplishment because I think we went like 22 minutes. And a lot of times we're only given like 10 to 12 or less. So them being like, you guys are the main event, do whatever you want. I was like, yes, thank you so much. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I walked away with a couple of candy cane like cuts. I poured out crushed peppermints, and then I found like, first of all, I was plucking them off of my back, my shirt after the match while trying to sell merch. And then I find like little scratches on my arms. I was like, oh my gosh, did this to myself. But yeah, it was a dream come true. It was like this concept that came to life. So I'm so happy I got to do it.
Yeah, I was watching the match. It seemed a lot of fun, and even like it was a nice venue too. It's a different venue,
Yeah,
like almost like a beer distillery.
Yeah, it was a brewery.
Brewery, sorry, yeah.
And
it was a nice setup there, and it's nice when you could have these venues in like different and creative spaces just for something different than your typical like community center or whatever it may be.
Yes, agreed.
I want to ask, I mean, the vibe I get is that you're very happy with the stuff that you are able to accomplish, not worrying about what you don't get. But when you look at 2026 coming up, do you have set goals that you would like to accomplish, or do you just kind of play it by ear and like take what comes?
Yeah, originally my first run in wrestling, it was a lot of just take what I can or what comes to me. In this case, coming back, I have a lot of set goals. Like I had goals back then, but it was like, oh, if I can, I can get there, if I can do this thing. And now I'm like, no, like I'm making it possible to accomplish these goals. One of them is I want to wrestle in 5 different states, and I've already checked off 3 this year. Other ones are just simple, like, oh, I want to do it. Like I want to participate in another seminar to better my wrestling. Another one is doing extra talent again because it's been years. So I'd like to do extra talent. Simple things like that. But yeah, I have a notepad and I made sure to write out what it is I want to accomplish for 2026. That way I keep things interesting and I keep a good mindset of what it is I want to do in wrestling instead of just going with the flow or, oh, it's another weekend, another match. Like this time around, I'm even more excited reaching those goals or getting further, or just knowing that I took another step closer to what it is I want in wrestling.
Definitely. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know you mentioned, some of the matches that kind of you were able to do in 2025, with, Titus Alexander, Jack Cardwheel. Are there any ones that really stand out to you? Ones that you're exceptionally proud of?
Yeah. Last night was a big one for me because I got to wrestle Anton Voorhees, and we've never had a match on a show before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that one. It's been a lot to process, but it really just means so much because he's believed in me from literally day one.
Mhm.
And there's been times where it was like, well, we're not really booked on the same show, so are we ever gonna be able to wrestle each other? But Juicy Finau, who's the one that the founder of Oasis Pro Wrestling, where I train now, where we wrestled, we both came out of the same school together, and Anton was our trainer. So he wanted to give us this moment and this match to have. So that one I'm really proud of, and I also walked away with that guy.
Ooh.
Got kicked in the face a couple of times, but it's okay. If anybody can kick me in the face, it's him. So yeah, very proud of that one. Still just trying to come down from the high of that because it's last night.
Mhm.
Man, other ones that I've had, I just had so many meaningful matches recently. A couple weeks ago, I wrestled Teal Piper
Okay.
in Oregon, and that just meant a lot because not only like I mentioned, my dad raising me on 80s wrestlers, so I love Piper. But just I have been following her career for the past decade.
Mhm.
So her being an actress and a singer, I'd already been following that journey. So when she became a wrestler, I was thrilled for her. And it never clicked in my mind that maybe we would wrestle each other. And I didn't know we were going to wrestle each other till I got to the venue.
Mhm.
And it was in her home state. So just to be able to wrestle her in her home state, which was the first time I was wrestling in Oregon, period. And it was for a promotion that I found out later that her dad wrestled at.
Okay.
So it's the first promotion that she's held a title the same place that her dad has held a title. And it was a tournament. So I was in the first round of the tournament. So just being a part of that story for her and that
Mhm.
history, I was really proud of. And it was cool to share with my dad too. Hey, I'm wrestling Teal Piper, and he was happy for me. So those two stand out for the recent matches that I've had.
Nice. I'm meaning to ask. I mean, has your dad been able to see you wrestle in person?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's been he went to my
Okay.
debut. He was at my return. He now likes to watch it at home if it's streaming because he
Okay.
says he feels like he's watching me on TV. Um Yeah, but when he can make it out to shows, he does. So yeah,
Nice.
he's seen me plenty of times.
Now, I ask for a match recommendation,
Mm-hmm.
one that you think the listener should go check out, and it can be any wrestlers, any promotions, any streaming service, but one that you're a fan of, whether it's your favorite match, one you casually like, but one you like, you think the listener should check out.
That's a great question. Because I'm like, do I just say one that I like, or do I say one where I'm like, yeah, you should check that one out. That one's gonna make you think about professional wrestling
Hey, if
differently.
you want to do one of each, go for it.
Uh, phew. Um, hmm. One that's sticking out, and I mean, I was there for it, so it's a little bit easier. But No Mercy, The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler, because
Okay.
Dolph put his wrestling career on the line. There
Mhm.
was something about the atmosphere that was so on edge that was just awesome. And I think it was for the Intercontinental title. Pretty
Okay.
sure. I think that was when the Miz was really having a run with the IC title. So that one. I'm trying to think if there's another one I can think of. We're just going to go with that one for now. I'm not going to think about it too hard. That was a great match.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have for upcoming shows? Where can the people see you in action?
Yeah, so trying to confirm a date for, well, okay, when is this coming out?
This will be towards, it'll be a few weeks away, so closer to the end of March.
Okay, let me look at my phone real quick. I work on a day-to-day basis
That's
of
fair.
where I need to be. Let's see. So on the 21st, I'll be back in Oregon. Well, I actually think it's Washington, but it's under Portland Wrestling is the company. Okay. So I'll be there, and I always post everything on all my platforms. But I'll be there, and then the 28th, I will be at Best of the West, which is in Lompoc, and then April, I might have something on the 4th, but I will also be in Las Vegas for WrestleMania weekend for Oasis Pro, which I believe we've confirmed is April 17th.
Okay.
So, yeah, those are some of the dates coming up.
So you're going to be wrestling at WrestleMania weekend, getting yourself out there.
That's a first for me as well. So,
hell yeah, good for you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
If people want to keep in touch and find out where you're going to be, if they want to follow you on social media, if you have anything else you would like to plug, here's an opportunity.
Yeah, I am on X, aka or FKA Twitter, Mia Garcia 25, and then Instagram, Snapchat, and I believe TikTok is Mia Garcia _25, and Facebook is under Mia Sweets.
Perfect.
I believe that's all the platforms. And I'm on YouTube, but I haven't uploaded in a while. But that's just Mia Garcia.
Hell yeah. Mia, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you to Mia, and thank you for checking out the podcast. I say it every time. I will always say it. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to me talk wrestling. If it's your first time listening, you can find me up on all social media at Grainmaker Wrestling Podcast, up on all podcast streaming platforms. You can even watch this up on YouTube, and you can see me every Saturday up on the Love Wrestling YouTube page doing 4 Exposure. It's with my good friend Pluggo. We take a look at the world of independent wrestling. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We'll talk soon. Grainmaker.